It is the year 2005.
Correct. We are here with Fandom History and Debriefing. It is the year 2005.
I'm Chris, that's Aaron, and this slide also says, hi, I'm Chris Vangelis, that's Aaron Axsmith. Do you want to see us in the year 2005? There we are. That's young Aaron. That's me at a Seattle science fiction book convention a minute after I woke up. My mom took that photo. There were only 5 photos of me from 2005, and that was the nicest looking one.
That is the one photo I could find of myself while we were already here or just about ready to come here from 2005, as I'm at a Sheltie Rescue event. That is the event that, if you guys know me and Andy Rue, who's of Andy Rue's gaming gang, that I believe is the event where I first met this silly little bastard of a dog staring down everybody.
Mm-hmm. And to explain who we are slightly more, for those who may not have been to one of these before, this is us circa 2005. We've been active and online and attending conventions since the turn of the century, which is Aaron's favorite sentence I ever invented.
Yeah.
Makes him happier every time I say it.
Yeah.
And we've also been podcasting since 2008 together on WTF at TFW. We've known each other face to face since around 2002 or 2003.
Yeah.
My question is, who here has not seen our news dive streams and was just interested? Excellent. This slide now has a purpose.
Yay.
So the news dive is we started from the earliest TFW 2005 news page, which was in February 2003, and we just go through every headline to show what a pre-2008 fandom looks like. We both grew up on TFW, that's why we use that site. We started podcasting in 2008, and our viewers on those streams range from this fly that's flying around my face to people who were on Alt Toys Transformers back in like the 90s, hey yo, and also folks who were literally born after what we're looking at, which was very interesting. So who here was not yet alive in 2005? Hey! You are not allowed to leave. You need to learn things.
Or buy alcohol.
I hope. Is that still flying in Canada? I don't know.
Hey. So I do have a playlist of everything we've done, including these debriefs, and this was how many streams it took us to do the year 2005. I now need to find another new newsy hat to put on that JPEG of me. Yeah, we did this over the course of actually a fairly expedited process.
Yeah.
Because TFcon LA was our cutoff for 2004, and then we were like, hey, we can do 2005 in a few months. Surely nothing happened in 2005, we still keep saying.
Yeah.
Because we were like, oh, surely 2003 will be a breeze. Did you know, by the way, the QR code will come back. Did you know, just to go over briefly what the genesis of 2003 was, this featured things like the conclusion of 88 miles per hour's genesis, the twilight of Orson's world, and also the debut of Aaron Archer, who you just saw, entering our chat during streams sometimes and just saying stuff. Yeah. Like we found an Orson's world entry where he mentioned in 2003, I can't say much, but Hasbro once almost lost the trademark to the name Megatron. No other info will be given. Do not ask me about this again. We saw he was in the chat, so we said, Aaron, what are you talking about? And he just told us. Because now it's 20-some years later, it doesn't really matter. So
Statute of limitations has passed on this NDA, so.
Occasionally, Aaron Archer just does knowledge drops in our chat, which is very funny. The story is very silly. It's in the streams, but Aaron threatened to quit his job when Hasbro Legal said, do we need Megatron? And he's like, yes, we do, or I leave. So you can thank Aaron Archer specifically for Megatron still being a Transformers word.
He's not in here now. He's back signing after our panel. We'll go by and just go woo at him and
don't tell him why.
Yeah, don't tell him why. If anybody comes over and tells him why, we'll know who did it.
Yeah. This also in 2003 was the debut of Energon, alternators, and Masterpiece. And strangely enough, the arrival of live-action movie news began in 2003, which we weren't expecting because we forgot that there was a 4-year lead-up to the first live-action film, during which most of the press for over a year was assuring us, and we forgot about this.
It was at least 2 years.
Yeah, multiple years. The Transformers live-action film, it's going to be absolutely as G1 as the 80s cartoon. over and over again.
All of your favorite G1 characters are going to be there, just like you remember them in G1.
They're going to be as deep as the X-Men were in the first X-Men film. It's going to be just like the X-Men, but Transformers.
And G1.
Yeah, and we forgot about this because, you know, once 07 clocks over, your brain gets overwritten. We'll have some Q&A at the end. Sorry, I don't want to leave you.
It's just that if you look at how Fox treated the X-Men, it wasn't actually very accurate.
That too. In 2003, X-Men was most like, wow, they didn't say mutants are stupid.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the gist of the enjoyment.
Should have been your first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that takes us to the journey of 2004, where again we thought like, well, 20th anniversary, what can happen? We had the 88 miles per hour crash out. We had the Ronald Reagan crash out. Because it turns out he died.
And that was a front page news story on multiple Transformer websites.
We got jump scared by the ghost of Ronald Reagan on stream. We also had the 3H crash out. We had the Don Murphy news cycle crash out. Because it turns out that when your movie is that far out from pre-production and your only news source is Don Murphy and his message board, it's a perpetual crash out. And we had the Dreamwave crash out in 2004. So 2004 was the year of everything falling apart and going into chaos.
Once you start crashing out, you never stop crashing out.
That's right. So they all just went away. It brings us, oh, by the way, holy crap, it's a life-size alternator from Binaltech. We came across this in the year 2005, and nobody, or almost nobody in the text chat recognized it. We didn't recognize it. This was front page news. So in Japan, someone just made an alternator that transforms by, as you can see, being pulled up on by a crane. I don't know if it was street legal or worked, because most of the articles were gone.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the news dive, is because we're in 20-plus-year-old internet, we're also finding a lot of very scary dead internet. The internet was not meant to be looked at when it gets that old. Link rot becomes not just funny, but dangerous. Archive.org becomes quite a tool. Please protect it. Anyway, I'm going to move on from now, so I apologize. But this is, I put this on Blue Sky. This image is floating around again. It's not too hard to find. Anyway, the transformations of 2005, because as Aaron put it succinctly, 2005 was a year of change.
Yeah, a year of rebirth, almost.
Yeah, and it begins with Dreamwave to IDW. There was a, 3-4 month period of like... Oh,
yeah, 3-4 month period of it was like, it's, Dreamwave was looking kind of bad at the end of 2004, and then very bad at the very end of 2004, and then 2005 was a whole lot of like, oh no, it's Devil's Due's done some stuff, they're going to get it, and there were like two other like indie comic things that, oh no, I know a guy whose brother's nephew works at a coffee shop, and he heard that style rumors that, but the classic, well, no, my uncle works for Nintendo style things, and that's how I know that you can have Mario with the Master Sword, and it's like, what? No.
To add to the kind of like, I call it, it's not really a tragedy, but you know how like the story of Don Figueroa and Transformers is like kind of like, there's a lot of bummer forks in that story. One of them is, during this period, he was hired by Devil's Due, which made everyone think, oh, Transformers is clearly going to Devil's Due, and then it didn't.
Right.
And then there was this period of like, so is Don Figueroa just off Transformers forever? Because he's not at the company that has it? And that was even at, Don, I believe, did a number of covers almost immediately for IDW. But there was this period of like, we don't know where the comics go. And then when IDW got the license and they put out Transformers #0, I didn't remember this, that book got shredded to pieces for the art. Because, among other things, the art was, and I quote, too detailed.
Yeah, those were some of the, because that was right at the end of 2005 when we were getting like solicits for the next round of stuff, and I think that was one of the things that we pulled up where like 2 or 3 people were like, it's too detailed, it doesn't look like the old style, and it's like, of course it doesn't.
Like, this was the debut of E.J. Sue drawing Transformers for myself and many other people, and I forgot how divisive his style was, which, again, it's weird to think about that now, when we have so many styles of artwork. We're in the the tail end of Daniel Warren Johnson's run, which is very much, again, it's a very separate style jump from what a lot of IDW had. IDW had multiple style jumps within it, but back then we were coming off of Dreamwave house style into anything, and I think there was a lot of like, this ain't the home I grew up in. You know, where's the puff? Why can I see the whole structure of their bodies? That's being mean. That's being very mean. But well, we were coming off MicroMasters that Rob Ruffalo. I was calling him it's Mark Ruffalo.
Mark.
Rob Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo's the like.
He's the legally the Hulk, but
Yeah.
he can't have his own movie.
Right.
Yeah. We were coming off of like that stuff, and like I can kind of see it, but I'm also an E.J. Sue enjoyer. So back then, I was already one of those contrarians who's like, I can see the brake axles in their ankles. Also, we had the exit interviews of Dreamwave. Pat Lee did an interview shortly after the death of Dreamwave, which was absolutely incredible, wherein he talked about all the great people he worked with and how it's such a shame that really it's the Canadian economy's fault that Dreamwave fell apart. And that he wishes everyone well, and that don't worry, he's got lots of Marvel projects lined up and ready to go. And shortly afterwards, there were a number of interviews of people who decided that we don't care as much, also because somebody leaked the Dreamwave financials back then. And it came out some of the amounts that Pat Lee had not paid people. And all we could find, there was a lengthy interview with Don Figueroa, I believe, where he was fairly brusque about it, but also saying like he at the time wasn't a fan of how that info leaked because it was, you know, private financial info, but at the same time, yeah, no, I mean, like, they're like, would you ever work with Pat Lee again? He's like, no.
Period.
And that whoever that outlet was said, we also have a follow-up interview with Pat Lee coming. That interview is lost media. It was public, but it isn't anymore, and it's not on archive.org. We don't know what he said. So yeah, this was a big period of transition that at the time we didn't know was also about to lead into the longest comic run in Transformers history.
Yeah.
Like what lay ahead was like maybe they'll get a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is also sort of a theme of 2005, transformations and just looking back on some of these runs and knowing how long and how far and how they went and sometimes how they ended. Like we had 3H to Fun publications. We were coming off of, Aaron has a face.
Yeah.
We were coming off of just a real ruddy end to 3H. It was a very like unpleasant end. It involved Hasbro themselves posting on Transformers.com press releases about the legal action they were taking against 3H over contract violation and whatnot on the kids' website that's advertised on the toy packaging.
When Timmy goes to Transformers.com, it was news story, 3H legal. It wasn't like, hey, click here to our media publishing thing. It was front page Transformers.
Yeah. And then that led to, like, I guess, there was, again, a brief period, much like with the comic books, where it was just, I guess, conventions officially are over. We'd have no idea who's taking this on. And then when it was announced Fun Publications was taking it on, there was this moment of like, oh, the Joe people.
They know how to run a show, I guess. Yeah.
Their toys come in a big fancy box with foam.
Yeah.
We're getting one of those.
Yeah.
And so obviously, this ended up lasting for over a decade. But also ended, in my opinion, a little ignominiously, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
But during this, we also found something that was unexpected, which was somebody had emailed Fun Publications with a number of concerns, because at the time, again, they're the new people. So there's lots of gnashing of teeth just because they're the new people. What are they doing, etc. When's the show happening? Because they were like, we think we'll do the first show in 05 in like the fall, but we're not sure yet. We're putting all this together. It's real. We swear the forum will be online next week.
Yeah.
For those who remember the era of the FunPub BotCon forum that eventually went up, someone emailed them and got it was like 3+ pages long reply from Brian Savage himself, who classically I always remember as never really interacting with communications that much. But in 05, he was more hands-on than anyone.
Yeah.
And that letter was
point by point of this guy's concerns and responding back with a lot of information that, like, because one of the email concerns is like, hey, you're saying you want whatever it was, like $285 for registration here on this thing. I think that's a lot of money if I'm just going to a toy show. And, Brian actually saying, well, this is a box set of a bunch of toys, and you get what was it? You got 2 interviews through time through line with every guest, where you didn't have to pay for signatures, where you didn't have to pay for signatures like we do here. And if you wanted the premium ones, then that'd be a premium thing, blah, blah. And it was like really breaking down what their business plan was almost in this, like it was an investor slide deck.
Yeah.
But it was just a single email to a single individual.
Who happened to then post it on the boards
Who
afterwards.
then happened to post it on the boards versus a thing that was like, hey, if you make some of this more public, you can get in front of the people that are like,
It was amazing because, like, one of my own long-standing arguments with FunPub over the turn of the decade in the 2010s was like, you're sharing info, but it's always in personal replies to people on 3 different message boards, and we're trying to track all this info to stop having people ask it.
And frequently the sharing of the info was very, what are you going to do about it, rather than like, hey, here's the facts.
And there was a funny version of that in Brian's email where he was kind of every 3rd paragraph, he took a second to explain why 3H sucks in a way compared to us. And
we don't have any lawsuits against us right now.
Did you see the dealer room at that last OTFCC? And it was really weird because it's like, yeah, dog, they don't have the license anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what we're getting really by stepping on their...
Gonna fight this ghost some to show you how cool I am.
And also, this is kind of to his credit, to a point. Brian Savage came within spitting distance of actually explaining what production breakpoints are.
Yes.
And I was not mad, but he was so close to explaining the notion of, because a breakpoint is where the price of a mass-produced piece, a breakpoint is where that price changes immensely. And it's like we can do, say, 1,000 pieces at this price or 5,000 pieces at this price. So if you can hit the breakpoint of 5,000 pieces, each one will be notably cheaper, right? And Brian was kind of explaining that, but never got to the right moment to fully close the loop.
It was a lot of like discussing it again as if he's discussing it with somebody that has the same knowledge set that he does. But.
Yeah. And so this all culminated in the launch of the BotCon website. We discovered that the BotCon website has many functioning forums on it still. The BotCon 2005 figure preview actually never went away because it's on botcon.com/figure preview. It's the preview for the 05 set. They also have you can still purchase an official Transformers Collectors Club membership. You can also...
The links are still live. I'm seeing confused faces. No, the links are still there. You don't get anything back from them. But
no.
All the forums are still there.
Don't put your credit card info in. But
3 times.
It has no required fields either. So I submitted about 18 different nationality membership requests and also sent in a question every time on every stream we went to that website for any reason. I'd go like, hey, I just noticed your front page hasn't updated. Also, we're streaming. Do you want to come to the chat? Send. Because the automated message kept implying like, oh, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you filled in any country in any of the different packages for membership and just didn't fill in any other info, you could click through to the success screen, which also had about 32 lines of hashtagged code at the top. It was fascinating. So we were just playing with this website and also wondering, are one of Brian Savage's like church aunties somewhere getting suddenly a ton of emails on their Hotmail account that don't make any sense or are alluding to a live stream?
Yeah.
It was an interesting journey. And BotCon 05 itself, I have a lot of memories of it because that is also the BotCon where they surprise debuted the concept of classics. Because they said, hey, we got a dead year in 06. We have a filler idea, though. And I remember the presentation was over. And they said, oh, by the way, we got this stuff. And it was the gray prototypes of classic Starscream and Rodimus and Megatron. And they were like, yeah, we're going to be doing this in 06. And that was mind-blowing. Because this was coming off of an era of like, that is specifically the one thing that we will never be able to do. And it turns out, oh, actually now we can, because we have this movie coming up. And, we're gonna have a pause. So that was the 3H to FunPub transformation. We also had the transformation of TFW 2005 is really broken 20 years later to TFW 2005 is only kind of broken 20 years later. Because for the last couple of years of these, 03 and 04 and most of 05, we had no images, let alone any discussion thread links. None of them were on the front page. Any links, most of them were broken. Depending on the type of link, sometimes they led us to discussion threads from the year 2006. Because of just the nature of the website being that old. It's celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And then at one point, we ran into this very strange, in 2004, just a missing block of time. Several months gone, we later remembered due to a database error. This year, we ran into even stranger things, like all the text descriptions disappearing, so we only had headlines
Yeah, it
for
was
a bit.
like, what, 30 pages of just the headline with no text body at all.
Yeah, oh no, that was later. First it was a couple of just the headline, and then it evened out, and we found out why. We'll show you in a sec. But then later on, we not only had all the text disappear except for headlines, we started to recycle the last month and a half of news. But then thumbnails started appearing again. And then we found a breakpoint, to use the word, different one, where the website had been harshly resuscitated from a massive database error, received an upgrade, and that meant this massive flood of front page posts erupting into the feed. But then suddenly, for the last, I'd say, season of 2005, we had just one image again per front page news item, and it was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Because like we were seeing like these stolen toys on eBay photos that I was trying to remember, because that's what leaks were back then, was a guy would sell stolen toys on eBay, but they'd also be the first look at some toys. Famously, most of the BotCon 05 exclusives leaked a day before each of their releases, almost as though it was a grudge. It was really funny to look at. But yeah, we found out that by the time we were going to enter 2006, we might even at one point have discussion threads that work again. And that's scary, because then we're going to start finding us posting 19 years ago. And on the stream, I stated nothing about Aaron, just for myself. I need everyone to know, chat audience, that 19 years ago, I was a lot more stupid. And I probably posted some rank, disgusting nonsense. So we're going to go on this journey together, because I know Aaron posted then too. And maybe some of the other folks in the text chat will find themselves from 20 years ago posting as you did in the 2000s. We scrolled through other news posts we'd find related through links to see what 2000s era nerd fandom posters were like. It wasn't very, how do you put it? It aged. Period. It was really interesting how it aged.
Thankfully, a lot of those that we saw that aged really poorly weren't TFW, so our people were fine.
That's because
it was people on whatever that movie website was that we went to.
Well, that's also because the TFW threads from then don't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, you have a point. However, my point still stands.
Yeah, it's one part of these news streams that is interesting is seeing the candor of the 2000s, as I'm sure especially many younger members of the audience might imagine. The 2000s was inherently a bit of an edgier time. It was a time when a lot of the internet was run by college kids who had maybe at best just graduated college, but also owned a popular website. So, you just have a lot of stuff flying around.
Yeah.
Famously, as I always remember, the first screenwriter for the live-action movie had intimated in a Q&A that Spike is in the movie, but he doesn't have Carly as a partner this time. And then another Q&A a bit later, we couldn't find the discussion thread, but the writer said, okay, so to everyone who is yelling at me that they think I made Spike gay, I just meant Carly's not in it. But then someone at that panel in LA asked us, like, hey, so if Spike was gay, who would play his boyfriend? And I was like, you know what? 2000s era Heath Ledger. Am I wrong? A Knight's Tale, I'm just saying. So yeah, that was fun. And when I show you what the moment was where we hit this, it also relates to Don Murphy's transformation. Because he went through something in 05, and we'll now play the clip. It's about 80 seconds long. It's just a little edit from one of the streams.
Aaron, something funny's about to happen. But before we get to that, new Galaxy Force and BioNTech picks. Burger King Transformers at the Allspark. Aaron, scroll up past here.
Huh.
What's happening?
It's collapsing.
All right. Original voice actors very unlikely in the Transformers movie.
Some of them are old, some of them are no longer alive.
We called Chris Latta, he didn't pick up, so we assume the rest are uninterested. Oh, here we Oh, okay. Don Murphy. I will no longer post on my message board. Don Murphy has never been an individual to hide his feelings on certain topics, so when an online journalistic magazine, Cinescape, posted up tidbits from a source who put a twist on some comments Don Murphy made in his message board, Don became jaded. Murphy had requested the article be taken down, claiming it showcased baseless opinions as facts and misportrayed what he stated. Edited and deleted due to threat of lawsuit by Don Murphy, Transformers movie producer. A few hours passed before the article was taken down. Anthony Ferrant of Cinescape issued the following reply to Murphy. Edited and deleted due to the threat of lawsuit by Don Murphy, Transformers movie producer. I vaguely recall some of this. Don Murphy situation update. Spoke with Don Murphy again as of 10:30 this morning. We had a non-confrontational conversation regarding the entire lawsuit situation started yesterday. In the conversation, he expressed his regret for coming heavy. Don Murphy comes heavy, his words.
You might have missed, but Aaron made a certain noise at the end of that clip. Yeah, he leaned into his mic and went, So, what happened is, as I vaguely recall it, Don Murphy got in a fight with the editor of Cinescape, and this is after, in 2004, there were many times where Don Murphy all but was asking his fan base to physically assault Harry Knowles, constantly, over and over again.
He did not like Harry Knowles.
He wanted to fist fight Harry Knowles. He wanted his followers to fist fight Harry Knowles, the owner of AintItCoolNews.com, for reasons that predate the Transformers film, so we never really got the full story on that on TFW. So the Cinescape thing starts happening. I was away that day, so I came back to discover that two mod admins had been removed from the website because something happened at the Don Murphy boards where TFW came up, and then Don Murphy came to TFW and started fights. TFW followed him back to his message boards to continue the fight. Don Murphy was hard, as we say, crashing out, and kept posting, as we say. He was, I believe the phrase is, he tried to post through it. But during that, he also began to say, I'm going to litigate each and every single one of you on the internet, especially you, the ones who are fighting with me. And it led to me returning to TFW to find this absolute disastrous mess. I remember, back in 2005, two of the admins who had gone over to Don Murphy with a bunch of people to say, hey, yo, what are you coming to our board to start stuff, blah, 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 had become collateral damage in the negotiations that took place thereafter because Don Murphy, as a movie producer with infinity money compared to people who own websites in 2005, had this. And it was pretty wild because he also all but calmed down the next day, which matches the tone in which he tends to post in the excerpts that we see. So this was neat. This is kind of, again, the ongoing adventure of we still don't even have a trailer for the live-action movie. All we have is this, Don Murphy's message board. And occasionally, he just wants to fight everyone now.
Comes background noise after a while.
Yeah, I'm sitting here still trying to remember what his name for his people were that was...
Oh, they were the Stooges.
The Stooges.
That was another one, is Don Murphy would occasionally show up and just start referring to the Stooges as though they're people in the threads he's in.
Yeah.
But if he's not on his own website, it's extremely confusing.
Yeah, that's just the term he used for everyone who posted on his site.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but it'd show up on other sites and be like, all right, my Stooges, here's what's going on. And you'd be like...
Stooges roll call! It'd be like, it's hard to explain because now we're on more centralized social medias, but back then, websites, message boards especially,
There's little islands.
they were islands and they were homes in a way. Like you'd kind of find a message board to fit in with, and that was your Blue Sky, Twitter, Tumblr, etc. It was your little in-group in a message board some guy owned and ran off of his computer under his desk, right?
The boards are still live. I still get birthday messages from them.
I still sometimes get birthday messages from minirc.com, the micro radio controlled car website I signed up for once because for a month I hyperfixated on them in 2006. But yeah, this whole Don Murphy thing was a very interesting little capstone to some of what we saw in 2005 because 2005 was like the whole year started and continued with, holy moly, it's that year from the movie. Hey, it is the year 2005. And meanwhile, we have all these license holders, not holders, licensors.
Licensees?
I always get this mixed up.
Licensed people.
Yeah, licensees. The licenses passing hands and these month-long gaps of like, do we have X of Transformers anymore? Because we're also all much younger and more naive. We don't really know how these systems work yet.
With the additional churn of movie news drip fed of like 4 times we had a script is done.
Oh,
2 weeks
yeah.
later, the script is finally done. 2 weeks after that, punch-ups on this script that was done are finally done.
Next update, Michael Bay is not moving forward until he's happy with the script. Well, there was also, I think this was the year that we got Orsi and Kurtzman? Or was it 04?
Yeah.
Because every time we see names that actually relates
because it's like screenplay by and then script by with.
Yeah. There was like this whole shakeup where The Island did well, and that like The Island is this very strange anchor point to the entire live-action Transformers movie genesis.
Because everything is Michael Bay from The Island.
Yeah, they constantly refer to him as Michael Bay from The Island, and Orsi and Kurtzman from The Island, I believe. There's just a very transitionary period peppered with strange instances like these that, because nothing else is really happening, we hyperfixate on. Cybertron was also coming out that year, but due to all these transitory things, Cybertron was just the idle noise. It was perpetually coming out. The original Ask Vector Prime was running. We actually found on archive.org one day, accidentally, the finished one. So we sort of accidentally just read through we skimmed through all of them in one go. And this is the Transformers.com version, where Vector Prime's tone would shift between a scriptwriter and demonstrably Aaron Archer.
Yeah.
So occasionally someone would say, Vector Prime, are dragons real? And then someone else would be like, when is Wave 14.5 coming out? And Vector Prime would go from, dragons are real, to like, well, young human, Wave 14.5 of Transformers product is going to deploy across your entire planet you call Earth within the year you know as 2005. So sometimes the tone would not match the question, and it was very fun to skim through that. That is on archive.org. I do recommend checking it out sometime. Because it also, it eventually branched off into other Ask Vector Primes, where it was maybe a little bit less, hey, when's Product Wave coming out?
I always tried to keep the shill aspect in there somewhere.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. The shill aspect, the roleplay aspect, and the it's 3 in the morning and I have to get this done aspects would butt together in this original version fantastically. We're no longer under threat of lawsuit by Don Murphy, so I will move us through here. So this goes into a lesson learned apiece. We do this now. This is our second time in a row doing this. I like this part. We each think about something that we learned from that year of news. So in Aaron's case...
Yeah, so the fragility of documentation, even digital, between how much more we came to rely on archive.org and being excited when this thing that they're talking about are linked to, you think... The internet is eternal, right? You hear that sometimes for social media stuff, and okay, maybe now it's better, but especially back then, the number of times that we'd be excited to find something there. TFW coming back, and we have photos that are taken with a potato because it's one of God's whole megapixels for this photo. Surely that's all you need. And the differences that even that can make, and over 20 years of it's all been digital, so it should just all carry on, right? More credit to internet archivists, and I do fire off a tiny donation to archive.org when we do the streams, just out of appreciation of how it's making some of what we do even possible, and in our silly little look back at old news stuff.
And also, I got to throw in a shout out to, in the live streams, Ali Convoy this year has been a boon, just showing up with archive.org links. Ali Convoy will just scroll ahead on the pages.
Like they're scrolling ahead, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to archive. Okay, there's the link already. All right, thanks, cool.
And in the post-production, it is like, among other folks, a lot of it, Vika Valerie has been going in to watch our VODs, and then she is just churning out chapter marking time codes in a comment, because she's like, yeah, I missed the lives, so I just write down time codes in the VODs. That's why I was able to find that clip I played for y'all. This reminded me, though, back then when toys were cited the first time, people would take a photo of the toy, but also the receipt to prove that they bought it. But sometimes they would do that on a 0.05 megapixel phone potato. So they'd be like, here's proof I got it, and it's in a dark
liter
room.
boxes in a dark room with like a Kmart receipt.
that has
like
3
in there,
pixels on it.
You can see probably the giant K of the Kmart, and you're like, well, if he's got a piece of paper, that's
The best part was someone found a new wave of like 2 different Transformers lines, and there was a crumpled receipt sitting on top of one of the boxes sideways, but demonstrably highlighted as like, look, there's the receipt.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so adorable, because like it doesn't prove anything, but it's just the way of the time. You show the receipt, literally. Speaking for myself, what I learned was our naivete butting against higher stakes, because this is part of this transformation was us running into stuff that, for instance, would become long-lived like pillars of Transformers. IDW and Fun Publications, both of their runs went over a decade long, and 2005 is the year their runs began, and a lot of the candor around them, it was just real adorably naive of like, hey, I bet these guys will do okay. You know, what's our window of perspective? Like 2 years? You know, it'd be neat if Transformers comics last until the movie comes out, like stuff like that. And also the movie itself, right? We're getting closer, and nothing says the stakes are going up a bit than one of the movie producers wading in neck deep in the midst of what I've got to assume is some kind of manic episode, deciding to fist fight with at least one major fan forum.
It's
at the
Hollywood.
time.
We're pretty sure Coke was involved and not the cola.
So no, like, also the fact that we all know what happens in 07, and every single one of these 2007 gets closer and closer. And something I've said on these streams especially is the impact crater of the 2007 movie is absolutely affecting my memory too.
Right.
Because there are bigger and bigger holes in my memory the closer we get to 2007. Because that instance was such a landmark moment for this entire wider, community of people with a shared interest. It's really interesting to me going on this journey, because you don't think about this. You think about what you remember, right? And when you're forced to trudge through a version of it in granularity, you are just inundated with little moments, and like specifically the moment of neuron connection is one I've come to really identify, not as a joke, but like as a moment where I read something like, that Don Murphy thing's an easy example, but I might read a sighting or like a debate over a mistranslated copyright, and I'll sit there and like, it's like I blink and I feel the neuron snap together like taffy, and I'm like, I remember fighting with some guy about this.
What was it? 2003 was Binar Tech, they were like 4 or 5.
Binar Tech for several months, it was Binar Tech.
The way that some of that stuff can come at you sideways because you only remember what you remember the last time you thought about the thing. Your memory of anything is your last time you remembered it, because brains are just really bad meat computers that mostly work usually, sometimes probably, versus when you have something digital and you can be like, oh no, this is exactly what it was. It like gets to shortcut a bunch of those.
Yeah. I would almost say, like, it's a fun journey to go on. I would say don't go on it by yourself. I think there's a lot of, and like I'm not even really joking, there's a lot of very strange existential stuff to go through when you relive 20-year-old memories with the clarity that digital offers, even when it is old internet ridden with link rot. It's very strange, and I think there is a lot of an unintentional safety cushion of not just having Aaron there, but also anyone who's watching and chatting away in the text chat. Because those are folks, again, from several different entry points of fandom activity, and they all have different memories too. There's obviously the ones where they're like, oh, I was a kid back then, that toy was one of my childhood toys. But then there's also the ones who are like, no, I was like a late teen, early college student back then, but I was on a different forum where we had different fights. I forgot about the existence of bot talk for a while until some of these streams. It was I think 05 streams where I was like, wait, who's the guy who owned bot talk? That's where another forum came. We were sitting there and it was like someone in the text chat said Renaud, and I was like, Renaud!
Yeah.
I remember him. It's fascinating. I do recommend going on the journey in a safe way if you've been in a fandom long enough, or if you just have an interest in like what a fandom was before you got there, especially when it goes back like 2 decades, because the internet is different back then. But that brings us to how much we would like to talk about it. So there's that playlist QR code again. This panel itself will appear in there, hopefully. And yeah, check out the playlist. And also, if you're watching stuff, leave timecode comments, make clips. I love that. I can see clips people make. It's something YouTube lets me do. So if it says, like, damn day sexy, like, I'll see that.
Yeah.
But the timecodes also help out other VOD watchers, and they help me out because I can add them as chapter markings. But yeah, let's talk a bit about digging into the past, questions about fandom history, our experience on old internet, or anything else, literally anything else. We both have a whole lot of confidence, even if we don't have necessarily a lot of knowledge. And like, really, isn't it all about the confidence?
If I don't know the answer, I'll make up a plausible lie.
Yeah. What is a lie if not a truth enduring? What's that line
No,
from
that's
WandaVision?
what is grief if not love enduring is what you're thinking.
Yeah,
of,
what is a lie if not truth suffering?
Truth failing to endure. So you characterized the fandom as being naive in terms of not knowing what was going to be coming forward, but I would suggest that I think these were fairly rational concerns.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In the year 2005, I mean, properties did go away or at least fall fallow, and Transformers itself had those periods.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's also just the naivety of the size of things, especially with our current knowledge of how big Transformers gets with huge movie followed by huge movie followed by huge movie.
2007 was the inflection point.
Right, right. But also just the idea that, like, you know, because before Dreamwave, we hadn't had comics since Marvel and some of that stuff and little bits and bobs. So our knowledge then is we had comics, then we didn't have comics. We have comics.
We had 7 years, and then they went away, and then we had 1 year, and it went away.
Right.
And
And
2 years, and it went away.
and so we saw ourselves in another went away.
I should say, like, my use of the term naivete is, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, because it's like naivete from the perspective of a literal, like, time traveler, looking 2 decades into the past, going like, oh, if only you knew.
Yeah.
If only you knew, but don't ask me about everything else happening in 2025. You don't need to know about that.
Just Bitcoin. Buy a bunch of Bitcoin, sit on it.
Don't make plans for the spring of 2020.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But no, you're absolutely right. Like back then, I think it was, and that's what's so interesting looking back on that stuff is like you have to have a lot of empathy, I think, to be able to do this. Is like plant yourself into the shoes of a person then who knows only then, while looking from the future. It's again why I find it so interesting.
No, it's a fascinating project.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi. I know you've said in previous panels and streams that eventually you're going to hit a point where you're just like, okay, this is where we're going to stop doing the news dives and all that. I was wondering if you had any interest in doing maybe like a mini stream about like old GeoCities or Angel Fire sites from back in like the
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've mentioned, just to clarify what that means, is I mentioned during the streams, my initial plan for this is when we get to the first posting of the first episode of the podcast, that's kind of the end of the concept. Because in 2008, when we started the podcast, we were heavily covering front page news. I do think there is value still in looking at that stuff, obviously. It just is a nice natural endpoint for a bit. But we then found, for instance, on 16bit.com, their news blog posts go back to summer 2000. And I was digging around in there a bit, and I was like, this would be kind of fun to dig around in. And Sabertron's archives loop into Alt-Toys Transformers, I think, because theirs go back to old Usenet posts. Unless I'm misremembering. Someone's news archives loop into Usenet posts, so there are news items from like a newspaper reporting or reviewing Transformers #1. You know, so that stuff I think could also be fun to go back to at the once we catch up to the year 2008.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
Roughly, what was the year of the Great Cryotech debate?
Oh, that was pre these things, because that was in the early aughts.
Yeah.
I think it was 2001.
Was that 2001?
I want to say, because that's when because it was in Beast Machine's era. Because if I'm thinking of what you're thinking of, it's when someone, I think it was Spooky, had put a Cryotech on eBay, and there was a huge fight about whether it was a custom. Because nobody knew what it was. It was just a blue Transmetal 2 Megatron. And there was like a lengthy a series of arguments about whether this was a custom, whether this is real. If it's real, why don't we know about it? Why hasn't anyone found one, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, because that was also in the era where a lot of customizers, I remember, talked about using like RIT dyes. So rather than painting, you would take your toy and dye it. And I remember people saying like, oh yeah, they just like, I don't know how they did the vac metal stuff, but like you could clearly just take that red toy and do chemical magic to it and make it blue and purple, like obviously.
Oh, that actually, sorry, this is a tangent, but yeah, I think it was 2001 was the Cryotech thing. Off of that, we had a moment where the Star Wars Transformers were announced in 05, and there was a thing about pin removal, I remember from back then, where back then you would just do something because someone else did it once and reported on it confidently. So
that's how you do it.
Back in the mid-aughts, the way you remove pins is go buy a soldering iron, heat the tip of the pin until it softens the plastic around it, and then tap it out because this guy did it. So I bought a soldering iron in 2005, and when I was 21, I didn't know what soldering irons were or how they worked. So I didn't hurt myself because someone else on the message boards already did. Someone else on the boards also reported like, hey, don't let the soldering iron touch the plastic because the plastic turns into liquid. But among the things I didn't know was that solder is a separate thing on a sprue, or a spool. I thought it worked like a hot glue gun, where solder would just come out the tip. And I remember I got it and I was asking people like, so where do I put the solder in? And they're like, you hold it next to it. And I'm like, that seems wildly dangerous. And they're like, it is. Why do you have a soldering iron? Oh, well, I'm going to hold this against the tip of a pin that's embedded in a plastic toy so I can partially melt the plastic and get the pin out. They're like, who's telling you to do this? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
What year did you guys start joining the Transformers fandom and start like posting and stuff?
1999.
Yeah, 2000 for me.
Yeah, the original TFW was a sub-forum attached to something called like the Cybertron Nexus Network or something.
FANDom.
No, that was later.
Yeah.
That was later.
Oh, yeah.
This is before TFW had its own message board. So I was 1999, like mid-late 1999, which is a while ago. And before then, I was posting on the Counter-Strike beta forums, and I'm glad those posts are gone. Because I was one of those kids who thought it was real cool to be edgy.
From Ray, show this to Chris.
Yeah, where does it come out? Where does it? Is it the cable?
No. Look at where her hand is.
Oh, she's holding the tip like a pencil.
This is far away from most of you, but this is a meme image of soldering iron of woman wearing safety glasses holding the tip of a soldering iron against a motherboard.
I was a band kid, by the way, just in case you all think that I just like sat out of high school. I was a band kid. That's all. I don't know how cars work either. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So you said that you're running into a lot of issues with this project categorizing everything just due to the lack of information, the database corruption, everything like that. Do you think that theoretically, if you were to do it in 20 years from now, if you were looking at this year or this last 5 years, do you think you'd be hit with the opposite problem, there being way too much to go through? Because I know, like, right now, if I want to see when, like, an Earthrise listing leaked, and I look up Earthrise listings leak date, it's like, did you mean the listings for 2026?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Something that surprised me, actually, when we started doing this was how much news there was. Because I remembered there being less. So I think there's a chance we might run into that. My bigger question is if 20 years from now we go back to look at the news of 2025, that bygone decade, how much of that's going to still be there? Because like we are also in an era of like preservation of media and information is actively sort of under threat at times. Like archive.org requiring donations, for instance.
Yeah.
Is some of this memory going to remain simply in meat memory? You know, will some of these websites persist? Because now it is still an event that happens sometimes where a website goes down. There was maybe a couple weeks notice, hopefully. Hopefully a spider caught the website and farted out a copy into archive.org. But like, I'm curious what the 20 years from now version of Dead Internet and link rot is. So I could see it going both ways, really.
Wow. Wow. Have you ever considered crossing? Has ever consider crossing over with other manga anime franchises aside from Mazinger Z and Evangelion?
I think Takara Tomy, like, now is doing some stuff with Evangelion.
Yeah, there's the Synergex Zoids, there's...
There's also the Opera.
Yeah.
There's an implication they're going to do, like, an Optimus EVA Unit 1 Synergenex piece. The whole Synergenex project is kind of like that stuff on the Takara Tomy end.
Well, like Macross and Gundam?
Oh yeah, they're doing a Macross one with Macross 7. It's a Bazara Prime. He comes with a trailer, and the jet turns into a vehicle, is what the katakana says. Yeah, some of you have seen it.
It's true. Star Saber's got the same design.
Why are you all laughing about the vehicle? It looks like a vehicle.
Yes.
Yeah, Star Saber's got the same designer too.
Yeah. I mean, what's a jet supposed to do? It folds in half.
And then backs in to the back of a trailer.
People are like, why is the nose cone pointing forward? Like, what's it supposed to do? Point up? Sorry, I hope that answered some of your questions.
Back on the topic of what Linkrot's going to look like in 20 years, I think a big part of it is going to be the proliferation of like private groups, like Discord servers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And because there's so much news that gets covered in those, it's not indexable, it's not searchable.
Yeah, it's a big fear of mine. I think I'll say fear. Maybe I'm overstating it a bit, but Discord, I think, is being right now taken a bit as granted, given how it's often been a fallback when other networks and sites get, I'll be kind to the kids, fecalified by new owners such as suspected human Elon Musk. Because like a Discord server is still owned by a company who, as far as I can tell, they are they'd love it if someone had any interest in buying Discord. And I think it's kind of freaky that there are like projects where like, our entire knowledge database is baked into a Discord channel on our server. And it's like, dog, that could just disappear though. Like, back it up into something, please. Into Notepad even. Like anything. I do have a bit of a fear about some general fandom knowledge share, like getting a bit lost to Discord. How do I put this? A trust in the granted existence of Discord, basically.
Yeah. And it's not even just that too. It's so many servers are like invite based or stuff like that. Yeah. And it's not indexable at all. So like you were talking about going, you were on TFW originally, and you would go look at other forums in your archive search. If you weren't in those servers when they were active, you're not going to be able to search them at all in the future, even if Discord survives.
Oh yeah, because if everyone just leaves a closed server, what happens? Yeah. I mean, I hope that's totally a valid point. I was going to say, branching off that, I think little bits of that took place with active IRC servers back in the day when there were like really active MIRC channels where like maybe there were some really fruitful talk in those that I believe those can exist in a log database somewhere, but like it is a little bit buried compared to internet forums. So that's a totally valid point.
I was in a lot of long-running Skype chats with groups for years and years.
Yeah, and what's Skype now?
Gone.
Yeah.
I was going to say on the topic of the Discord thing, I actually had a friend of mine who lost her Discord server that went back 5 years, and because someone hacked her account and just decided to delete her whole personal Discord server, and had like 100 people on it, and there was some really important like information in there about friends and whatnot, and they lost it completely, and Discord wasn't able to bring any of it back.
Yeah. I mean, something about Discord, I try to stress this so much, like, I don't know enough to say like they hate you, but I'm like, Discord, the company, has no reason to help you.
Corporations are not your friends. They're not going to save anything for you.
It's why I'm a proponent. When I learned about this a few months ago, I added it to my own server rules, is Fed posting, as one calls it. If you go into a Discord server, even a closed one, and you start posting, actionable threats of violence against figures of government, if you get arrested and they go through your phone and look at your Discord servers, everyone on that server could be in danger because of those posts, because Discord will turn the logs over, most probably. They have no reason not to, because they don't know you.
I was also going to say, I don't know if you've tried posting on r/data hoarders. Those guys are pretty good about...
I didn't know about them.
Well, yeah, it's a Reddit server of people who are just archiving and archiving websites that are about to go down and other things like that. They have a lot of stuff, and they might not post what they have, but if you do a post, a lot of people will offer what they have.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I think a lot of the stuff that we've been going at would predate when a lot of that data hoarding was potentially going on.
Well,
especially since
some of those people might have been doing it before even Reddit was around.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a worthwhile. There are communities out there doing a lot of archiving. It's just that no one knows that they're there.
Yeah.
That's good to know, too. It was r/data hoarders?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ask me about it because it's one that I've looked at. Because, well, it was when I was setting up my NAS. It was like, hey, these are people that deal with a lot of
By the way,
yeah.
Aaron has a NAS.
Yeah.
They're very useful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When you lose a whole bunch of data a couple of times, you want something with a little bit of redundancy.
Yeah. So anyway, please do check out the playlist. We're going to start doing 2006 sometime. We're going to take a little break, but we're going to get into doing 2006 because it's fun. And yeah, we'll see what happens in 2006. So thanks for coming out. Next up, I believe we got Ninjatron?
Yes, I think so. Yes. John's the one holding the schedule right now. Thank you guys. That was fascinating.
Thanks for coming out.